Hi preschool, happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend with your family. This past week we had some exciting news. We found out that some astronauts have taken a rocket ship and they've blasted off into outer space. So as we speak, there are some astronauts flying up in the sky in outer space. They're taking pictures of everything they see so they can share with us. So today, I thought it'd be a great day to read a story about the first astronauts who were able to land and walk on the moon. So we are going to read that story today. Are you guys ready? All right, first let's take a look at the front cover and the title page. The title is called Man on the Moon. Man and moon both start with the same beginning sound, M. The author is Anastasia Swen. She wrote the words. And the illustrator is Bonri Huang. He drew the pictures. Before we even start reading our story, let's take a look at the front cover. What do you notice or what do you see? I see two astronauts, a spaceship, and I see giant holes and footsteps. I wonder if this is what the moon looks like. I wonder if these two astronauts are walking on the moon. Let's read and find out. Moon, do you remember your first visitors? There's the moon up in the sky. What is the planet next to the moon? That's the planet Earth, where we live. It was 1969. Astronauts Collins, Aldrin, and Armstrong suited up. Each had flown in space, but no one had ever touched the moon. No one. Some said it couldn't be done. Astronauts Collins, Aldrin, and Armstrong were going to try. How do you think these astronauts feel right now? I bet they're pretty scared, right? This is a scary mission to go somewhere in outer space. But they're also probably very excited, very happy to be able to be the first people to walk on the moon. Let's take a look at the equipment you would need to blast off into outer space. What's the first thing you need? A helmet? What else? A spacesuit? Gloves? Space boots. Why do you think we need a helmet? Because in outer space there is no oxygen, and we need oxygen to breathe. So this helmet provides the oxygen that the astronauts need to breathe with. Into Apollo 11 they climbed. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, liftoff, liftoff. Apollo 11 has cleared the tower. Saturn V shot them into the sky. So this is Apollo 11. This is the spaceship or the rocket ship that brought them to the moon. What do you notice about Apollo 11? It's very long, pointy, and also quite narrow, right? It's quite thin. Around the Earth they flew as the rockets dropped off, then whoosh, straight from the moon, straight for the moon. Hours and days passed. The people on Earth watched the astronauts on TV. How do you think this rocket ship or spaceship is getting from Earth to the moon? How is it doing that? It looks like it has very powerful engines. Just like an airplane has engines that help it blast off into the sky, spaceships have powerful engines that help it blast off into outer space. Over and over the capsule turned. Suddenly, the sky went dark. This is what outer space looks like. It's very dark. It was the moon. For the first time, Apollo 11 saw the moon. So here's the astronaut, and he's staring outside of his spaceship window. And all he sees are these craters. What do you think a crater is? A crater is a giant hole. The moon is full of these craters or giant holes. The astronauts circled, looking for a place to land. In the morning, their spacecraft would separate. Columbia, named after Columbus, would sail around the moon. The Eagle, like a bird, would fly there. So why do you think this spaceship is going to separate? Why is it going to break into smaller pieces? I think it's going to separate or break into smaller pieces because right now it's too big or too large to land on the moon. It needs to become smaller so they could land on the moon. The next day, Aldrin and Armstrong climbed into the Eagle. So this is the Eagle. Collins in Columbia pressed a button and off the Eagle flew. How is the Eagle, this spacecraft or this rocket ship, different than this rocket ship? The Eagle is much smaller, right? And much more condensed. It's easier to land on the moon because it's much smaller in size. Buttons and gadgets, switches and lights, alarms rang again and again. In the control room, Houston said, "Go!" The Eagle flew on. What do you think all of these switches are for? The switches help maneuver. They help drive the spacecraft to the moon. Just like you find these switches in an airplane. The switches in the airplane help the plane maneuver or fly around in the air. On the moon, craters loomed. The Eagle was going too fast. Armstrong took the controls and began to fly. Houston and Earth waited. So this is what the moon looks like. It's full of craters, these big holes in the ground. It's full of sand and dirt. This planet is very dry. There's almost no water on this planet. What do you think formed these craters or these holes? Let's see. 50 feet, 30 feet, contact. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. So the spaceship has landed on the moon. And there's Earth from far away. With cameras rolling as millions watched, astronaut Neil Armstrong touched the moon. "That's one small step for man," he said, "one giant leap for mankind." So there's the astronaut Neil Armstrong. He's walking on the moon right now. He's the first person to ever walk on the moon. Aldrin and Armstrong took pictures, they collected rocks, and they planted the American flag. Hours later, the Eagle left the moon and linked up with Columbia. Why do you think the astronauts are collecting rocks and taking pictures? Why would they do that? I think they might be collecting rocks and taking pictures so they can use those to study the moon. They can use them to study the moon and learn more about the moon. Home again, Collins, Aldrin, and Armstrong splashed down into the Pacific Ocean. So there's the rocket ship landing back on Earth. The rocket ship was going very, very fast. I wonder how it was able to slow down when it hit Earth. How do you think it was able to slow down? The rocket ship had 3 parachutes, and the 3 parachutes helped it slow down. Some said it couldn't be done. Mike Collins, Buzz Aldrin, and Neil Armstrong proved them wrong and made history. The end. All right, preschool, I hope you liked that story. I will be with you guys tomorrow for our Google Meet. We will be reading a book on Google Meet, singing a new rhyming song, and hopefully we'll get to do some dancing as long as Google Meet is working with that. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.